Namaste. Welcome to another edition of Navimas podcast. So we again meet again in about half an hour's time. So we finished our previous stream of book reading session. So now we are back with another brand new stream. So we have with us author of the book, the original Lynch Mob, Mr. Debapratim Ghatak. So Namaste, Dibda.
Namaste. Namaste.
So, yeah, and a very warm welcome to you to our podcast. It's your first session with us. So, very warm welcome, and we wish that we will have you for many more sessions with us to talk about your groundbreaking book on the left violence and the culture of violence in West Bengal. So, on that regard, lot of people know you, lot of people do not know you. So could you give a little bit intro into your work, like what you do for a living and how do you wrote this book? An intro would help the people who are not familiar with your work.
First of all, thank you very much for having me on your show. And you are doing a very good job. I enjoy your podcasts and discussions. You have very good guests also in the year. So I'm a very small person for your the as compared to the other guest. Myself is Debapratim Ghatak is my full name. A lot of people call me Debu Ghatak also. So I am basically a chartered accountant in practice, uh, and I am doing my profession since 1989 maybe. So 35 years I've been in the profession of chartered accountancy, and I keep writing about the not right wing exactly, with conservative ideas, ideas about our heritage, ideas about Hinduism as I would say Bharatiyata. So this has been a point of interest to me, and of course I have a very low opinion, I should say, about the leftist politics and the Marxian economy and all kinds of things. So these are the two things which drive my thinking or anything, or the books I read, and the ideas that I have developed since my very early age, I should say. And my idea has always been to be a humanitarian approach to all things that I see in my life. And this book was actually inspired by, as the name suggests, the original Lynch mob. So this Lynch mob and Lynchistan has been flying around since 2014. There was a case in Dadri of Aklak, if you remember, of finding some beef in the refrigerators, somewhat like that. And people had gone there, some fringe elements who are always available in the society. So somebody went there and attacked him, and that became a emblem for rightist people. These are the people who are lynching people, who are going to lynch people. India has become a lynchistan, and all kinds of things. Then I, being born and brought up in Bengal, my mind went, my God, this lynching thing is the prerogative of the leftist, has always been. They have killed numerous people year after year during their rule, before their rule, after their rule. So, what kind of narrative is being built up? That the Hindus are lynchmen, Hindus are lynching people, and this struck me. Then I got into writing this book, and I have selected 8 incidents of lynching only. Of course, leftist rule is strewn with lot more violence, lot more killings, but maybe not every one of it is lynching. So I had selected 8 incidents where it is plain lynching. If we tell it in Bengali, gonohotta. So these incidents I had picked up just to build up, counter the narrative that India has become a lynchistan. No, India has not become a lynchistan. India will never be a lynchistan. This whole concept of lynching is foreign to India. India will never become a lynchistan. And then I started writing and establishing the fact that the original lynchmen are the leftists. These are the people of with communist background who believe in lynching. That's the main point. Their philosophy tells them to lynch people who are opposed to their idea. So this has been happening in Bengal, not only happening, the huge intellectual base that Bengal had all along, they have all been silent all along. Nobody ever came out to protest against it, as if these things do happen. Like after the Bantala incident, Jyoti Basu had said, "এরম তো হয়েই থাকে." These things do happen. And thirdly, nobody ever dug the grave. Nobody ever brought it to the limelight of the national media. So this remained in Bengal, by the Bengalis, for the Bengalis, of the Bengalis. It never came out of Bengal. You will rarely come across any English literature which describes all this. You will not find anything in the internet. The leftist cabal is so strong, they can wipe out anything from Wikipedia, they can wipe out anything from other websites. So it is very difficult to find even reference material in the internet regarding these lynchings. And there is rarely anything written. I would like to just quote you from the mail I received when late Vivek Devrai received my book. So that in a nutshell tells you about the whole thing, which he describes very nicely. He mailed me back, I quote, "Thank you for sending me your book, The Original Lynch Mob. The subject interests me, and I do not think too much has been written about this. I look forward to reading the book." So even he felt that I don't think too much has been written about it. So even my experience of writing the book or finding a publisher, everything is so frustrating that we can discuss later on. So my primary aim was to expose the communists as the lynchmen, and all the incidents are incidents of lynching by a crowd of CPIM cadres, if you may say so, and planned with the blessings from the highest, what I call leadership of the CPIM, mostly CPIM. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a very good, interesting intro that you have gave us, okay, which actually charts that you are a chartered accountant by profession, but you wrote a book on the leftist politics of violence, especially undocumented, hidden from the common man and even from the intellectuals. So that's a very noble thing. I think without your book and people like Deep Haldar, and also I like to just to give a context, I also have this book, Termites, how the left is destroying the world through subversion. So curiously, I am also like reading anti-left books and other things for a long time. So I understand a little bit of psyche, how the left operates, and you know much better than me. So we'll come back to our books discussion. So the first thing that I want to discuss with you with regard to the origin of political violence, especially in undivided Bengal and now West Bengal. So if you could give, because a lot of people outside West Bengal or even like undivided Bengal have an idea of Bengali Bhadralok, singing, eating, dance, music, creativity. That is and bureaucrats, professors. So this perception, which is there across India and even globally, that the Bengali Bhadralok has created, where this violence comes from. Could you give an insight into that?
So see, this whole image of Bengali being an intellectual society is nothing but an effort of picking up exceptions, brilliantly talented people, and then extrapolating it to spread it over the whole society. But actual Bengali society has never been an intellectual society. While maybe Satyajit Ray and Ritik Ghatak had made great films, but the films which are latched on by the crowd is Beder Me Josna. But then this intellectual cabal will extrapolate that Satyajit Ray film into such a thing that you will believe it is much like the British propaganda. You know, Bengalis are very good at propaganda as long as the British also have been doing. One single cricketer in the British team will be extrapolated to mean that the world has been served by this cricketer, and this is the greatest gift of mankind to the world of cricket. So that is one thing. The Bengali society, if you observe them, has always been following the rulers. At some point of time, they have been following the Britishers. At some point of their time, all of Bengal was CPIM. Now the all of Bengal is TMC, and maybe in due course, if BJP comes to power, all of Bengal will become BJP. So the Bengali gentleman is basically a court gesture, if you may say so, following the ruler, oiling the ruler, keeping him in good humor. That's about it. They will never go out of their way to protest about anything, about any killing, about any lynching, nothing. They will shift camps once they sense that things are changing. In 2000, just prior to 2011, when Nandigram happened and the whole society went against CPIM, these intellectual cabal sensed that things are going to change. Suddenly they came and joined Mamata Banerjee's team. All the 34 years they have been supporting the CPIM because they were in power. Now, having sensed that Mamata Banerjee is coming to power, all of these intellectuals, you see the poet, the dramatist, the dancer, the singer, everybody. So this does not speak very highly of our society as well. And regarding the leftist violence to which we are discussing, one trend worldwide is the left violence is always led by a government. The left violence is never a movement. Left violence in Cambodia was under Pol Pot. Left violence in China was under Mao Zedong. Left violence in Russia was under Stalin. So they need a government to perpetuate the violence. Once they are in power, they will perpetuate violence. We have seen this in Kerala as well. They have been killing RSS, BJP, and the violence is such that they just can't. I would say they just don't know how to handle any opposition. They don't know how to deal with it. So their only solution is to kill, the annihilation of the enemy. Khotomer Rajniti, as we Bengalis have come to know. And there are people like Ajizul Haq, an ex-Naxalite, who will sit on TV and tell this, that this is a valid kind of policy. Khotomer Rajniti. It's nothing but proposing murder of the opponent. And he can sit in a television interview and say all this and get away with it. Nobody will question him. Even half of this is said by any other leader, he will be torn apart by everybody. But the leftists have this strange, I would say, they will keep on telling things which nobody else has a right to say. So this is how this violence has been justified. This is how this violence has been sanitized by the intellectual brigade. Every intellectual who you see now with Mamata Banerjee at some point of time has sanitized the left violence as well. So these are people, these are, if you want me to say in a very lucid language, they are intellectual prostitutes. They have no allegiance to any idea, but they are leftist. And they have made the whole Bengali society believe in it. The kind of celebration that the Bengali society loves of poverty. I mean, you find poems which says, তখন পাড়ায় একটা টিভি ছিল, একটা মাত্র telephone. I mean, there was one television and one telephone in the whole locality is a point of celebration. And these leftist people have been able to convince the society that these are the things to follow. These are the things to celebrate. And in the bargain, they have wiped out anything and everything who went against them. So this whole lynching thing is nothing but annihilation of the opponent, wiping out of anything who is against the CPIM and against the leftist idea.
Yeah, so I'll just add 2 points to this. So, this perception of a peaceful Bengali people who love to eat fish and sing songs and write poetry, and in contrast, we have seen 1946, the Kolkata riots and the Noakhali riots. Right? So this culture of violence is very long. It's long. So, and now because these are not talked about a lot. So when partition happened, you had Punjab and you had Bengal, East Bengal. There's a lot of been movies, plays, literature, books written on the Punjab partition, especially. But we haven't seen the kind of literature being written where the violence and the atrocities were much larger and much greater in terms of its ferocity and intensity, nothing is written about it. So that's why we see this perception is being built. But I want to just bit more into this. This violent culture, does it stem from an historical perspective in terms of ancient Bengal, or is it something which is a 19th century invention in terms of violent political violence in Bengal in particular?
I would, I'm not very conversant with ancient Bengal history, but what I have seen, what I have, yeah, you see excellent movies on partition, excellent books on partition. They are so very quiet on the atrocities on the other side of the border. If you have seen Ritik Ghatak's Megedaka Tara, it's an excellent movie. You see the people who are victims of partition, but not a line is said about why they have come to this part of the country, why they have to leave their hearth and home and come to Bengal and suffer here. The Bijan Bhattacharya's character and the Supriya character, you have seen Nita Supriya, they are struggling because they have to leave their home and everything and come to Bengal. But not a line why they have come here. Only the struggle is shown. They are struggling against everything. If you go through Sunil Ganguly's Ordhek Jiban, which is kind of biography, you find 2 pages only on Shialda station where his uncle comes, he gets lost. They are all refugees. They have come to Calcutta. They have nothing to eat. They have nothing, nowhere to stay. And 24 to 30 pages on Second World War. I mean, this is the kind of, what would you say? Are they hiding? Are they scared of speaking out? What I have observed is Bengali society, especially the educated class, are a big scared, colloquially what we call a fattu class. They can never stand up to anything. They will not stand up to the Gunda of TMC next door, but they can stand up to Donald Trump. They can stand up to Nicaragua. They can stand up to anything which is far away from his place. So this is the kind of fattu culture. They will never ever stand up and protest against somebody where there is minimum amount of risk. So, but they will always pretend to be great protesters. They will always pretend to be big time, what do you call, strugglers and standing beside the poor man. But the poor man of Bengal is much, much, much more poorer than the poor man of Punjab. The poor man of Bengal is much poorer than the poor man of Haryana. Poor man of Bengal is much poorer. Even the Muslim community, which is available at the beck and call of the rulers that be, you look at this situation, you go to a place where they stay. I mean, it's like a pigsty. People are staying there. They're celebrating their religion. They're coming out in the call of religious leaders, and they're very happy with it. I mean, it's. I have seen places where the monsoon rain has got into the home, and the home is built one side of the wall and the other side is polythene, and they are staying there. They're very happy with the rulers that be. So this, and nobody speaks for them. Nobody speaks for them. They will speak for their religious rights, not for their food rights, not for their schools, not for their education, not for their health, nothing. And they are also, on the contrary, they are also happy with their existence. So how can we help it? This is a situation which has been built by the leftist. In Bengali, you call it Bam Monon, and English, I would call it psyche. The psyche of the Bengali community has been very nicely made into a leftist mindset of celebrating poverty, of always be on the protest path, always have a jhanda in your hand, and keep on bloody struggling all your life without achieving anything. That's how the thing has done. And the new ruler have replaced the left and are more left than the left. So where do you take yourself to from this place? It's a different proposition.
Yeah, 34. Yeah, so 34 years of left rule will create a kind of a incentivized society, incentivized individuals and groups who will always wield power until they are weeded out with force and any other methods. So we'll come back to our books. So from the book itself, I would like you to describe three of the incidents that you mentioned. So let me actually share, uh, read it out to you. So the first thing that you talk about is uh, Sain Bari killings. Second is Marichjhapi massacre, which we actually covered intensively. And the last one is the burning of Anandomargi monks. So people who are not familiar with this, people of outside Bengal and even within Bengal will not know about it. So I would like you to request to you to actually give a brief description of the Sainibari killings and then to Marichjhapi.
So the book has basically 8 chapters.
Yeah.
All the eight chapters are regarding uh, lynching by the communist mob. So one is Sain Bari killing. This happened in Bardhaman. I'll come in details to that. First, enumerate the 8 chapters. One is Sain Bari. Second is Marichjhapi refugee killing. Third is Metiaburuj lynching that happened to DC Mehta. Anandomargi burning is one chapter. Bantola murder is one chapter. Suchpur killing is another chapter. Choto Angaria. And the latest is the Nondigram, which brought the downfall of the CPIM ministry. So if we now go down to Sain Bari killing, Sain Bari is a what do you call a family home. Sai is a title. Sai is a surname. So where the Shais live is called Sain Bari. Matlab, Sai Loka Makan, if I can say so. So Sain Bari is in a small town in Bardhaman, very near Calcutta. It's 100 kilometers from Calcutta. So this Shai family was known to be a Congress supporter. And when in 1970 March, the United Front government, Jukto Front government, led by Ajay Mukherjee, came down because of the hooliganism of CPIM and the undemocratic behavior of Jyoti Basu, the great epitome of democracy of Bengal. They brought down their own ministry. And Ajay Mukherjee, as a chief minister, had to sit in a dharna against his own ministry because Jyoti Basu was using the police all over the state for furthering his CPIM's agenda. So this ministry fell down, and in protest, CPIM had called a bandh on 17 March. On that day, the Sain Bari was having a incident of a celebration of their child, child of the daughter of the house. CPIM crowd came in small processions, congregated in a place, and went to Sain Bari. They put the house on fire, killed both of their brothers, and a private tutor, Mr. Rai, who had come to teach the child. He tried to escape and he was caught hold of and killed. And then one of the brothers, acid was poured into his eyes, making him blind for life. Their mother was sitting there, senior citizen, and her mother was sitting with the rice in front of her, and blood was poured into the rice, and she was told, "You go and taste your blood of the son." This was the kind of violence the CPIM started off with. The laboratory experiment of CPIM, of violence, of annihilation of the enemy, was put to practice first time in Sain Bari. And Sain Bari was a thing which shocked the whole of the state, but nothing happened. Till date, nobody was brought to justice. There's nobody officially prosecuted. Nobody was brought to trial. All the documents has vanished. And subsequently, 77, when CPIM came to power, they had even withdrawn all the cases in the with the excuse that such trial, if brought to a logical conclusion, and if the criminals, if the accused are punished, then there will be large scale violence in the town of Bardhaman because the Bardhaman people loves these murderers. You just imagine a family losing their member, being murdered in broad daylight, everybody knowing who has murdered, and there is no trial. The pretext that if they are brought to logical conclusion, the town will see large scale violence. because the people of Bardhaman loves these murderers. And the thing went like that. Subsequently, they went to Alipur court, they withdrew the cases, and the documents, all the evidence is nowhere to be found. Nobody knows who removed them. You go to High Court, you will not find them. You go to Alipur Court, you will not find them. You go to Bardhaman Court, you will not find them. So even a researcher, if he wants to research on the topics, he will not find any evidence to substantiate his claims. So this is how the first experiment of lynching came out. There were hundreds of people who invaded that house on that day, and there were tribals who were told, and the tribals, there was one Baki river. The tribal jumped over the river, swam across the river with bows and arrows, and fire in on the tip of the arrow was shot at the house, which put the house on fire. So this is the kind of violence that the CPIM started off with as an experiment for future. So this happened in March 1970. And in 7 years' time, I mean 1970, the whole of Bengal voted them to power. Even in Bardhaman town, the accused had come to power. They have won the election. And all the people who were involved in this planning of the Sain Bari massacre went on to become uh, some as registrar of the society, a registrar of an university, some as minister in the ministry. Everybody was rewarded. Even the superintendent of police and the divisional district magistrate, they were also given good plum posting. And one of the DM retired as the chief secretary of the state. So the thing is, one is it was a lynching by people carrying political flags. Everybody knew who killed whom, but there was no trial, there was no justice, and there was no and sorry also. Nobody said sorry to the family. You just imagine the plight of a family whose members have been murdered, and a murderer went on to become minister and registrar of university and Jila Parishad Sobhapati, everything. As a family, they were reduced to poverty. They struggled their way out, and day in day out, they had to see this in front of their eyes how the people who had murdered their brother are moving around. So this was Sain Bari in a nutshell.
Yes. So before we move on to the next one, so just one information. So this left movement, what I have read and understood, is something which was like supported by forces outside India, especially in the Indian subcontinent. Okay, and like see, 1920, the Communist Party of India was actually officially formed in India, 1920. And then slowly with the British actually helped, the Soviets actually helped these people to actually grab power and had help. So in your opinion, in terms of this mindset of violence which left actually has demonstrated in Cuba, in Russia, in India, and wherever they had their power, so how they actually, like, they are actually masters of manipulation and propaganda. So what do you think? Like, what is in that literature which actually prompts them to be these monsters they have become? Is there something with the left ideology which prompts them to become monsters?
You see, basically the extraterritorial thing of the leftist, of the Communist Party, is I'll give you two examples. One, the Communist Party was established outside India, not in India. It came to India later on. Then all the leaders who were in the formative years with the Communist Party, they were all outside India. Manavendranath Rai was in Russia, PC Joshi was in England. So they had formed the Communist Party. So now people from outside the country formed a Communist Party and put it among the Indians. Then the Communist Party was divided. Divided on what lines? Did they have any issue with their ideology or anything? No. One said we are with the China, either said we are with the Soviet Union. I mean, even the difference is not regarding our country. The difference is regarding allegiance to the foreign countries. CPI said we are with Russia, and CPM said no, we are not with Russia, we are with China. And the Naxal, of course, the famous dialogue, China chairman, Amalet chairman. So they could not find anything to work on with the Indian thing. While Indian, this Samrasta thing or the equality thing has been, whether there is some kind of caste discrimination and all, is always there. But then nobody gave it recognition. Everybody fought against it. From our own society, we did not need anyone from outside the country to reform our society. You see, all our great men, they never supported bad things of Hinduism. It is never an orthodox religion. Not only religion, it is never an orthodox culture even. So our culture did not need anybody from outside India for reforming our own society. All reform came from within our society. But the communist always needs people from outside. And regarding violence, you see, the book, the whole idea of a single book ideology has to be violent. You just, if you are not inviting diversity in your own premises, how can you tolerate diversity? So there's a single book ideology. There's Quran for Islam, there's Das Capital for communists, and they obey by that. So whenever there's a conflict, whenever you find no, this practice is not working out. So he said the practice is wrong, theory is correct. Never, they have never tried to correct the theory. Theory always stands correct. So whatever is wrong with the practice. You will listen to that in Islam also. Somebody throws a bomb, he says he is not a true Muslim. So that's how you cover up things. And lastly, you see, they believe in violence. They believe in killing. They believe in annihilation of why? Because you see, so many materials have come out today, it is exposed. Everybody knows what the Gulag is, what Stalin has done, how many people Stalin has killed. The numbers will surpass Hitler. Hitler's number is nowhere near Stalin's murders. But you go to a party office, Communist Party office, you will find a Stalin photo out there. They will not disown him. They love him. Love him because of the violence. Love him because of the killing. Love him because he could take it forward. He had the courage to kill his opponents. That's how they see things. So this violence is, the ideology is imported from outside. The violence is imported from outside. The love and affection for violence is also from outside. The country in which they were, Stalin, Lenin, they have been pulled out, they have been thrown out of the country. But our people are still there. And if you are interested in having Rasagolla of Kesi Das, you just have a Rasagolla and look at the other side of the road, you will find a Lenin statue still there. What is there to appreciate in Lenin after so many things have come out? And after the country in which he is supposed to have done great good has kicked him out, has brought down a statue. I have been to Russia and I have seen a statue graveyard. I never imagined such thing existed. Somebody told me you go and see, it says graveyard of statues. So I went there. I found plenty of statue of Karl Marx, Lenin, small, big, all kinds of things, and Stalin. They have brought down the statue and brought it to a graveyard. But in our country, all the party office still adorn the pictures of Stalin, and we have statues of Lenin. Stalin statue I have not come across as yet. Maybe that's a good idea for the CPIM to work on.
Yeah, no, we have a one person called Stalin. So he's just a living, we have a living example. We
Okay,
don't need
okay.
statues.
Oh, you're from
We
Chennai,
have,
right? Right.
so we have a living walking Stalin. So we don't need a statue.
So we don't need a statue.
Yeah. So we'll go back to and then we'll discuss your second chapter that is on the Marichjhapi massacre. So Marichjhapi massacre is one of the most well-known documented violent streak of left in India. So where Deep Haldar wrote a groundbreaking book on that. But just to refresh our memories, just to give a brief of what happened at Marichjhapi and how the violent was the violence at Marichjhapi was actually at a different level in terms of the use of bureaucracy, the use of police, and its leaders.
See, Marichjhapi was violence inflicted on displaced East Bengal refugees. So, who are these refugees? Because there are plenty of refugees still residing in Calcutta, and who had settled down in Calcutta by the time the Marichjhapi happened. Marichjhapi were the refugees from Dandakaranya. Dandakaranya is a place covering Koraput, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, that kind, the tribal belt. There, these East Bengal refugees were dispatched during Congress rule in the pretext that Bengal has no more place to absorb East Bengal refugees, which may be correct to some extent, and they were sent to Dandakaranya, a place which was foreign to them. So they had settled down there anyway, but the leftists out of were not in power. So this leftist leader, mainly Ram Chatterjee, Jyoti Basu, they used to go to Dandakaranya. They used to provoke these refugees, telling them that yes, you just vote for us, let the refugees vote for us, let the Bengalis vote for us. Once we are in power, there are crores of hands to welcome you in West Bengal. So 77, when Jyoti Basu was in power, they thought that this is the time to go back from Dandakaranya to Bengal. So they came and met Jyoti Basu. Jyoti Basu just, as you call, Paltimara. He just said that I have nothing to do with it. You people are staying there, you stay there, I will think about it. Then Satish Mondal, the leader, he requested Jyoti Basu that, okay, fine, I don't need any help from the government. You just let us settle down in some part of Sundarban, which is close to our heart. The Sundarban area, the
Uh,
water, the
just
fish.
just one interjection. So actually, I have read the book written by Mr. Mandal, the a son of Jitendra Mandal. So he had mentioned in the book, which I had read in the stream as well, that that place Marichjhapi was actually originally agreed upon by the left front government and the refugees, that we will be here. So it was like a already agreed place that was Marichjhapi, and they went where they already had an agreement, verbal agreement with the left. So it's not something that they went to a place where they were not agreed upon. So just carry on.
Yes. Then Satish Mondal told Jyoti Basu that we are going to Marichjhapi to settle down. You just do me a favor, don't put the police behind us. And Jyoti Basu replied back, I don't need to learn governance from a refugee. You go ahead and do whatever you want. So Satish Mondal, with a heavy heart, came out of Jyoti Basu's chamber and they went to Marichjhapi. Kumirmari was the other side of Marichjhapi. So from Kumirmari, they went to Marichjhapi, they saw the place, they decided to put up there. And slowly, refugees from Dandakaranya, as they received the information that this place is a lovely place, we can go and settle there, they kept coming there, and then they almost settled down there and started doing business in the neighboring islands. They were going to the huts, they were selling materials out there, and they were making materials which were not available in Sundarban till date. The villagers were astounded. They were finding furnitures made by the refugees. They were finding bidis. Even bidi used to come from Murshidabad to Sundarban. Now the bidis were being made by the refugees. Now they are building up their own school. They had their own bakery. They were making breads out there, and they were digging tube wells as well, without any help from the government. Now this was an eyesore to the CPIM. The party people wants everybody to be at their feet for water, for salt, for rice, for wheat, whatever you want. You should come to the party office. Now, this was terrible news for the CPIM, that the refugees have made a life of their own. They have built an island into a township almost, and the neighboring were very happy with their existence. So things were organized, police were let loose, and the kind of killing, you see, first they started starving them. Food and all were stopped. No boat were allowed to reach the island. And then subsequently, boats were intercepted. And while sailing from one island to another island with women and children, they were shot dead inside the boat. They were thrown into the river. for the kamat. There's a kind of shark that is there in the Sundarban known as kamat with sharp teeth. They were thrown into the water for their eating. And there's a Ross Malik research paper also which says that the tigers of Sundarban became man-eater after the Marichjhapi incident. That's a very popular thing in the internet by Ross Malik. So the kind of violence and atrocity of helpless people trapped inside an island was undertaken by the CPIM cadres. I mean, it's unimaginable. What happened to the
Your
picture?
camera, your camera actually is off. I think there might some network issue from your end, but you can speak. Like if you can turn on the camera, it's
Okay,
fine. Or
I'll try to put on the camera
hmm.
and keep speaking actually.
Yeah,
So
please.
this is how it happened. And
Yeah,
once the
okay. So
year,
yeah, go ahead. Finish it.
so why the picture is not coming? I'll try to find it.
There might be check your network. Is you're using a prepaid card or a postpaid card? Yeah.
Prepaid.
Prepaid. It
Just give me a
the
minute.
data. Yeah. Please go
Just
ahead.
give me a
Please
minute.
go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead. No problem. Till then, we will take some comments which we have. We have lots of very good comments which have come. So let's take a few comments. Uh,
It was a terrible incident to happen, and when everything
yeah,
was
please go
finished,
ahead.
there were some refugees already trapped inside the island. The last stage was the raiding the island and killing those people. Inside the island, the schools were destroyed and everything. I mean, this kind of violence against their own people is unimaginable. I'm just
Yes.
trying to.
You're
Is the
you're
sound
able to
going
hear
on?
me? Yeah. Actually, we can hear you. It's
Yes,
audio is yeah, audio is okay. Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay. We'll continue with the audio only. Check if your connection is
Okay.
okay. Then you can turn on the camera. Okay. Uh, I I think he's having some connectivity issue. So no problem. He will be back. Let me have the phone here. Till then, we'll take few comments. So first of all, we'll really like to appreciate Yashwant for your super sticker. Thank you very much. We appreciate your support, and we will continue to bring guests that you like. Do share your feedback. Anything that you want to see, you want to hear about, any books you want to ask to cover, and we'll try to get the guest as soon as possible on this. And again, Shaptorshi, thank you for your contribution, and we appreciate. Yeah, you can hear me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then what happened is, at last, after the people going to other islands were being regularly killed inside the river while sailing, things came to a stop and nobody tried to move out of the island. Then the CPIM cadre, along with the policemen, went to the island. It was a Saraswati Puja day. They demolished the Saraswati Puja celebration. They put the school on fire. They emptied the whole they emptied the whole island of any refugee. All refugees were driven out of the island. And next day, Buddhadev Bhattacharya, then the Information and Broadcasting Minister, proudly said in the assembly lobby that today we have cleared the Marichjhapi of all the refugees. This is how they were celebrating the killing. This is how they were celebrating the of hapless people. You see, these Marichjhapi refugees were the poorest of the poor. They were helpless people. They were turned into refugee for the third time. Once from East Bengal to Nodia and all, Mana camps, from there
Yeah,
to
Manak.
from there to Dandakaranya, from Dandakaranya to Marichjhapi, and from Marichjhapi again back to Dandakaranya. They were taken to places in North 24 Parganas like Banipur and all. They were loaded in trucks and taken to places like Kharagpur and all so that they cannot congregate in a small place in large numbers. They were dumped into trains going towards Madhya Pradesh, and it ended very unfortunately. But okay, the CPM were violent. They had killed the refugees. The refugees has now vanished. Whatever was left of the Marichjhapi in the Marichjhapi island, understood. And what was the middle class Bengali society doing about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Pin drop silence in the Calcutta, the cultural capital of India. Nobody spoke about anything. But there were people who fought for the refugees, but you can count them. Like the reporter Jyotirmoy Datta. Jyotirmoy Datta went ahead and filed a case. He took medicine and water to the island. He fought for it. And there was one Pannalal Dasgupta who had this Sundarban NGO. He also fought for it. And there was one soiri organized for the to collect money for the Marichjhapi refugees, where Hemanta Mukherjee and Suchitra Mitra and all came together to collect some money. But that's nothing. Nobody spoke out against the killing. Nobody. There's not a single literature you will find where the intellectuals, where the intellectual capital of Calcutta has spoken against it. And leave alone the intellectuals. They were refugees who had settled down in Calcutta. But there were one very distinct difference. Mostly the Dandakaranya refugees were Nomosudrus. That's why I told you they were making bidis, they were making furnitures, carpenters and all, because they were Nomosudra category engaged in lowly activities. So they were very skilled hands in all this. While the Bhadraloks of Calcutta, who had come from East Bengal, they were mostly Chattopadhyay, Bandyopadhyays and all. So they did not find any common ground with this killing. They thought, okay, if you have come, you knew there's a risk in it. You have come, you have got killed. Now go back to the place where the government has arranged for you. So these people had to go back to Dandakaranya with their children, some without their children, some with his wife, some without his wife, some with her husband, some with her husband killed. And it was indeed an unfortunate incident to a people by the government, by the ruling class, who and the victims had nothing to fall back on. There was nobody to stand in for them. There was not even a protest against them. And the ruling class, especially Mr. Basu, was very happy with it. And they went on to win elections after that. Nothing happened because 77 they won the election, 79 this happened. Within 2 years of coming to power, they had their head intoxicated in power to kill people like sitting ducks. So this is how. And the third thing which is very important is always in all the incidents you will find, all this happens with the blessings from the top. It's not a fringe elements who are doing all this. It is always with blessings from the top. You just imagine a communist chief minister getting involved with such small things. How many refugees have come? 5,000, 6,000, 10,000, 12,000. And the chief minister of a state is involved, is instructing the police to kill them, in obstructing the news agencies to reach there. This is how the communist ideology makes you. This is how the communist thinks they should run the country.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to add. No issues. I will take this question. Actually, this is a very important question. I was supposed to take questions at the end of the session, but because we are in this conversation and you made a point about the Bhadralok and the intellectuals of Kolkata especially. So Hindu Vichardhara show, she does her own book reading sessions and work with us as well. She asked, do you believe that Hindu academics have failed to create a narrative about the Red Terror pan-India? Apart from promoting your book on social media, what else can our generation do? talking about us and how we can actually help you, because you wrote the book, you did your job. How we can help you to actually make sure that this narrative is known to people outside Bengal and within Bengal. They understand what left stands for in terms of its violent streak across decades.
I was just quoting Vivek Devroy, what Vivek Devroy wrote to me. I don't think too much has been written about this. To which I add, I don't think too much has been written about this in English. As because it is nothing in English is available in the literature, or little bit is available with rabid right wingers, which has little credibility. So the thing doesn't come out. People don't know. And of course, the young generation, they have not seen CPIM rule at all. In 2011, they were defeated. Now it's already 12, 13 years. So if a person was in class 10 or 15 years of age, he doesn't know actually the CPIM. These are all 80s, 85, 90, 2000, 2007. So the whole idea of writing it in English is for this only, to make it into a national point of discussion, and so that it reaches to people outside Bengal, and they know that what these leftist people in the garb of intellectualism does, what they believe in, and what they say. They are experts in this. They will say exactly the opposite of what they believe in. So the question is what we should do. I would request everybody to put it, to give it a publicity to people who are interested to know about communist violence, so that this poison, this toxin doesn't come to our society, come back to our society. That is one thing. And the other thing, very sadly, which I observe in highest leadership of our right-wing people also, this craving for left endorsement, it is just not going away. It is just not going away. People are craving for left endorsement. People are craving for foreign endorsement. We should get out of this. We should have our own ecology. We should have our own chambers where we can discuss this. We should appreciate each other. We should find books which are written by us, for us, of us. This constant craving for leftist endorsement has to go. This is another toxin which is getting into us. And rather than being a right wing, I would say that we should get into conservatism. We should try to protect our legacy. We should be proud about our culture, about our religion. And I would say, I need not say, I did not publicize my religion. A religion which has inspired Swami Vivekananda, a religion which has inspired Aurobindo, has said it all. I need not say anything about it. I must just follow it. There must be something seriously right with this religion. So it's very important that we are proud of our legacy. We are proud of our heritage, rather than looking for and craving for leftist endorsement. But then the academia is full of leftist people. The academia is full of people who can take you places. If you are against a leftist cabal, it is very difficult to make big in academia. Do you agree to that? Just your view on it.
Yes, yes, obviously. But
Yes.
one thing which, yeah, I agree with you. I think one suggestion which I would have is that, correct, we have a lot of literature that has come out. Devuda's book is there. We have termites. This book is there. We have book from Deep Haldar regarding Blood Island. So what we should do is we take out the pictures, cutouts, and post them as posts on social media, so that it reaches to people who have not known what left has done. Like kind of social media posts, Instagram posts, short clips that would actually go to more people rather than having long form programs. So that's one thing we can do actually. Yeah, but I agree with you
And there
completely
is
on this.
in
And
West.
yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I was saying is
You
that
please.
yeah, in terms of, correct, what we can do and how to fight it, I think the bureaucracy, the first thing which needs to be done, which is not in the priority of the any government, whether right wing or any other thing, is the education system. So if we are unable to actually fix the education system from primary level to middle school level, where all this propaganda is put into people's mind that left is great savior of poor and what they have done, and they are the great people. Okay, until that is fixed, I think we will not find a lasting solution, because by they become 18, they are full of propaganda, and after that you can't change people's mind. So I think this academic takeover of left intellectuals needs to be broken by all means possible, and that would mean a lasting solution. Or else we will have these deracinated generations who will believe that left are the real revolutionaries, and we are all human first and anything else later, and that will kill all our tradition and all our culture. Yeah,
No,
please
what
go
I
ahead.
was suggesting is not believing. What I was telling you, believing that the left is the savior is one thing, and making it appear that I am believing in this to further my academic career is another thing. I don't believe in it. But then my PhD guide is a leftist. I agree to a lot of things with him. And regarding education system, you see, it's the same education system through which I have gone. It is the same education system through which Sitaram Yechuri has gone. So he has become a leftist. I have not become. I've started hating them. So it is not really the education system that is important. It's also important that how you absorb the education. That is also important. How can you just start believing whatever is being fed to you? But then people in the academia is so strong. If you can, if you want to, I can give you my experience regarding finding the publisher, and you will be surprised what kind of ecology they have built up in the publishing world. Even if you give me permission, I can
Yeah,
share
please,
with
please,
you.
please go ahead. Please go ahead. Please go.
So my experience of finding a publisher started off, and most of the people were not interested in Delhi because it's an English book on Bengal and against the CPIM communist people. One is they don't believe that such a subject find bulk buyers. Who is the bulk buyer? Bulk buyer is a library. Bulk buyer is a government department. Bulk anything against left has no market. Even after 2014, at 2020, 10 years after, if we may call it a right-wing rule, even today you don't have a market, a buyer, bulk buyer for a left, anti-left book. That is one part. Now, being rejected by all the publishers, I went to Voice of India. Voice of India is of Sitaram Goel's house. Sitaram Goel was an Assam Hindu nationalist who was a Swadeshi also. And his son, Aditya Goel, he has his own publication. So he was very excited. You have done a great job. I really like your research. He gave the book for editing to somebody. Now, this editor, with his comment, sent me back the book. What was the comment? How can you write like this? Do you have evidence? How can you write against a chief minister like this? This sentence will put you in jail. This put you in court. And Aditya Goel was so scared. One day he called me up and said, "Boss, yeah, we are a small publisher. If we do all this, they will go to court and we will be finished. Our small publishing house will be closed down." You talk to a lawyer. Who is this editor? Then I talked to the editor directly. This editor was a PhD student of JNU, who was a rabbit communist. And he was editing my book. Just imagine. And then I advised him to get back to his lawyer and find out what is what. His lawyer also advised him, you will be in deep trouble. Don't ever try to publish this book. So I left him. And Sankan Sano of Garuda Publishing, I just approached him once. He had the courage of a lion. He said, "You just send me, I'm going to publish it. I'm not scared of anybody." He went ahead and published my book. I'm so very thankful to Garuda and Mr. Sankan Sano that he had the courage to publish it. My point is, you see, people like Aditya Goel who is a branded right-wing publisher, a Hindu-minded publisher, even he is scared to publish anything against the leftist ideology. So it is not important that they have been defeated in Bengal. It is not important that they are out of Tripura. It is not important they are latching on to Kerala only. What is important is they have got a fantastic ecology. And what do we lack? You will find every other day in Twitter a fight being picked up by one right wing to with another right wing. And the right wings are getting categorized. This is a trad, this is a right wing, this is a conservative, this is a Chatu right wing. He's trying to be close to the government. And our government, what are they doing? They are picking up all kinds of leftist people and Firangi podcasters to get endorsement from the international community, to get endorsement from the leftist brigade. This has to be demolished. The young people, whoever is listening to this podcast, I request all of you to make it into a kind of Junoon kind of a thing, that our publishing, our ideology, these are very excellent ideologies, they're very good ideology. We are not spreading murderous things. We are not spreading any hatred. These are things of which the country is proud of. These are things of which a lot of international pundits have found solace in. So we should also get into this. That's more important than what do you say? This putting the leftist out of power in Bengal and Tripura.
Yeah, the famous dialogue from the Kashmir files. सरकार हमारी है, सिस्टम उनका है.
Ekdam, ekdam. And I was talking about academia, it runs up to the judiciary even. You just imagine the kind of bail applications people are making and getting away with. This leftist, left liberal. I mean, a left liberal can never be a left. I don't know how this terminology has come up, left liberal. So these people from Zubair to everybody, midnight, they're going to Supreme Court, they're getting bails. These are all systems. These are systems. And look at the fate of Nupur Sharma. She is hiding. I mean, the whole system is with them. They can do anything they like. Yes, sir.
Yes, and we'll finish this segment with Tarek. I was reading the book, The Ultimate Goal, okay, where the author talks about the power of narrative. So, because they hold the narrative power, they can actually sell a massacre as revolution, and that is something that we have to grab hold of. Okay. So all the revolutions, they were actually massacring people, and it was sold as a revolutionary fight. So now we'll come back to the last portion of our discussion on the incidents which we covered in the book. So last one we'll cover is with regard to the Anandamargi incident. So could you just give us a bit overview on that, what happened there?
I'll be very short with this Anandamargi incident because it's a brutal murder, and I suppose there are a lot of young people who will be listening to this podcast, and it can be very disturbing to them also. So Anandamargi is an organization which is a very small organization. I wonder whether outside Bengal anybody knows about Anandamargi. But the one
prominent thing about it is international. It is international. It is actually, they have also international branches.
Yeah, but Bengal, Bihar, they have a strong presence.
Yeah, in that region.
And Canada, Australia, they have got a good presence. So this Anandamargi organization, what is striking about them is they are all saffron clad. They are all saffron clad. They don't call them sannyasi or sannyasinis. They call them avaduts and avadhutika. But they are basically monks of the order. So here was a case where CPIM was trying to root out the Anandamargis from Tildala area, where they were their international headquarters. The CPIM was after them. One, because they were all saffron clad, maybe. It was an eyesore to them, the saffron clad moving around. Main thing was 82 was 5 years into it. 77 CPM came to power. 82 was 5 years of power. And this Ananda Margi was building a huge international global center in Tiljola without ever seeking any help from CPIM. This was also very irritating to the party. The party those days wanted everybody to be at their feet, like I told about the refugees of Marichjhapi. So this Ananda Margi was building, and there was this local people who were constantly disturbing the Ananda Margi. They tried to bomb the institution. They tried to kill one Hridaya. That incident is being given in the year. Then the date came when they were having an international conference in the. But before the international conference was happening, apart from the local archons like Michke Bablu and small-time operators, there were big leaders who got against Ananda Margi. Leaders like Sachin Sen, these are all Somnath Chatterjee, these are all MPs and MLAs and big leaders. They got into the citizens, they organized a citizens conference. All bad things about Ananda Margi were told, and there was one murderous State Secretary Pramod Dasgupta, who was very, very cruel kind of a person. He was also brought into this movement against Ananda Margi, and the stage was set when they could attack the Ananda Margi avadhuts or monks on some pretext or other. So they were started off with the rumor of a child lifters. The society was fed with the story. Hello, are you there?
Yeah, actually, I am. Yeah, yeah, I am there. I am just getting a glass of water, so you can continue.
Okay, I continue. So
Yeah.
the society was fed with the rumor of child lifters that these sannyasis were all after your child. They are going to lift your child and kill them in their one of the rituals where they need child sacrifice. All these stories were here on the 30th April 1982, when this conference was about to happen, and delegates were reaching Calcutta from all over West Bengal and Dhar. In the early morning, at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, when people were trying to reach this global headquarters for the conference, taxis were stopped, people were drawn down from the train, and they were very easy to identify because everybody were wearing saffron clothes, and you could easily make out an Ananda Margi monk if you see at them. They have got some kind of turban in their head and saffron clothes all along. So these people were brought down from trains, from buses, and brought down from taxis. Kerosene, they were beaten to death. Kerosene were poured over them, and they were put to fire. This is a terrible, cruel incident, and this burning of flesh, this smell, you could not escape from it. If you are staying there, the smoke would ultimately reach your window. The smoke would reach your house. And the smoke of burning human flesh was reaching every other house in the locality. And what did the Bengali middle class do? They closed the window. They closed the window so that the smoke doesn't reach their drawing room. In 1 hour time, by 9 o'clock or 9:30, the operation was over. They were burning bodies on the road. They were burning bodies on the railway line. They were burning bodies on the bridge, Bijan Setu, what you see today. And the Bengali gentleman saw out of the window. They found that everything has cooled down. Only the bodies are burning. They took out their bazaar bags and went to the green market to get their sobji and fish. This is how the society had reacted to the violence. It is no wonder that the CPIM went on with the violence year after year and got away with it. Because in every election, before every election, there was such violence, and the election happened, and they went on winning elections after elections. Of course, there was plenty of foul play in the winning, but you cannot take away the fact that there was substantial portion of the Bengali society who was still supporting them in the name of communism, supporting them in the name of opposing Congress, supporting them in the name of left ideology, and supporting them for every other reason. So the Bengali society slowly went into this quicksand of leftism, and by the time everything happened, there was no way they could get out of it.
Yeah, thank you. I think you gave a very, very apt description what happened, because in the book also it's pretty graphic in terms of the way it has been done. Actually, I am changing my connection from one to another. So just give me 5 minutes for the video to come back. I am on the mobile data now. So one more thing which is
Right, right.
important, which actually is very pertinent in the query which I want to ask, on also for the audience itself, that the people of Bengal who and Maharashtra, who were the forefront of Hindu warriors in the pre-independence period, who were actually fighting with arms and weapons against the British on this flag of Hindutva, how that society and people become like this? Like, do you find anything in your analysis how this transformation took place, where they would close their windows to shut the burning flesh smell?
See, no matter how politically incorrect I may sound, but this whole idea of bombing a small-time British officer and doing some kind of biplab or revolution has spoiled the Bengali psyche. Maharashtra never suffered from these things. Maharashtra always they had gone into some big time revolution. It is only in Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose who gave us the great idea that if you want to remove an imperial power, you need to hold hand with another imperial power. Good or bad is immaterial because you're going to fight an imperial power with another imperial power. That's the whole strategy, that's the whole politics about. But then bombing Charles Taggart and glorifying Binoy Badal Dinesh, this has spoiled our whole approach to Sadhinata Sangram or freedom struggle. We have never been able to organize a big movement. We have never been able to organize a mass movement against the British. Our movement has always been guerrilla warfare, bombing people from behind the wall, bombing people in a hidden place. So this kind of, if you call it revolution, it is revolution. But on the contrary, if you go to Maharashtra, at least Bal Gangadhar Tilak, what is thought? He thought about Ganapati Puja. He thought to make Ganapati Puja a mass affair so that he could bring everybody together. So these are very different kind of here. Yes, Rabindranath's movement against undivided Bengal or division of Bengal is something you can call, which was a mass movement. Otherwise, more or less, it has always been bombing people from behind the bush. And that can never, that kind of ideology went on to become the Naxalites of even killing the hapless constable and killing the hapless doctor, locality doctor, and celebrating the death. So that is one difference, I think, which has made, and that is one difference why the Bengali found totally out of place when Mahatma Gandhi arrived and organized everything as a mass movement. Right wrong is a different thing. But the
Yeah,
only
yeah. Just
person who
one.
could change the Bengali society,
Please go. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
the only person who could change the whole Bengali society, the only person who had the courage to do it was Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. But somehow the machinations and the politics of Mahatma Gandhi had forced to him to leave Congress, leave the country. But his strategy of putting up another imperial power against imperial power, and bad against the bad, was great. I mean, that is the idea which Bengali lacked, but Bengalis stuck on to that guerrilla warfare, which brought us nothing actually at the end of the day.
Yes, but what is your opinion about the Hindu Mahasabha movement with Dr. Shama Prasad and others, Sir, and other people? How they were actually, they were called Bengal Tigers, Sir Ashutosh, Shama Prasad. So how do you think like they feared into this scheme?
So that is post independence. till now we were discussing about the freedom struggle.
Hmm,
Post independence, Samaprasad Mukherjee was a towering figure. Samaprasad Mukherjee was a figure not so much respected in Bengal or given value, but all India basis, everybody looked up to him for something great. Even Nehru could not ignore him. He was a towering personality. So, but then you see how many people you have in Bengal who appreciate Shamaprasad Mukherjee. Shamaprasad Mukherjee had rare followers within West Bengal at his prime. He was already a figure, but then he was not a very he did not have very much followers within West Bengal. That's a fact, right or wrong, you like it or don't, that's a different issue. But he had very, and subsequently the leftists went on to plant all kinds of stories that because Shyama Prasad was the son of Ashutosh Mukherjee, he was given highest marks. Even as people like Ashok Mitra had written all kind of dirty stories about Shyama Prasad Mukherjee also. But Shyama Prasad Mukherjee was a towering personality, and every Bengali should be proud that we have a person like Shyama Prasad Mukherjee who kept West Bengal in the picture, in the overall picture of post-independent India. Otherwise, what was there for Bengal? There would have been nothing. As an industry minister, you just imagine how many industry he had brought to West Bengal. I mean, Chitranjan locality was, Durgapur is full of them, MAMC, Durgapur Steel Plant, Alloy Steel Plant. He has done so much for West Bengal. But the West Bengal society, I don't understand this Bengali society, whom they want and whom they want to throw away. So Bengali society fell in love with the most useless person like Jyoti Basu, and he had a huge fan following. But Shama Prasad Mukherjee had few admirers within his own state.
Yeah, I will just add one point, which is my observation. People can agree or disagree with me. This advent of British and Calcutta becoming the second city of British Empire. Okay, so and that created a kind of a Bengali middle class dependent on the British for their prosperity, and that prosperity and that kind of influence which they got created a kind of a, I would say, slave mentality, okay, which actually went on to become so that they didn't want to lose any privileges, and they become communists. They wanted to latch on to the power which they held pre-independence period, and communism was one way which they could actually enhance it and keep it with them. So, and that did not happen with rest of India. So that could be also one aspect of it. Yeah. So now
I
we'll
find
go
that
back.
the whole
Please go ahead.
I find this whole Bengali society coming up as a intellectual society, Bengali society coming up as a reformist society, Bengali society coming up as a literary society is as a contribution of the British, if you may say so. Because before the British came and we were ruled by the Muslims, other than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you could rarely name somebody. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a towering figure. He is something, God's gift to mankind. But other than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you will find really a big Bengali personality who could change the society. As the British came in, suddenly what you call the Renaissance period is all during the British period. You see, suddenly Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, Vivekananda, Ramakrishna, Sharat Chandra, Rabindranath, everybody, there's a flood of people who could contribute to the society. These are people who could change the society. These are people to whom people would look up to. And the whole society started changing for better. The whole society was, even Keshav Chandra Sen, Brahmo Samaj, everything was reformist, everything was contributing to the betterment of the society under the protection of British. I would say, I mean, I know I'll be abused just now in the comment section, but the historical fact remains that during the British rule, Bengalis had the golden period of intellectualism. Every single person that Bengal produced during that period were gems. India has never produced that kind of people. I mean, Jagadish Chandra Bose, Prafulla Chandra Rai, any field you go to music, you go to science, you go to literature, you go to novelists, everywhere Bengalis were ruling. And people used to look. Gandhi came 50, 60 times to Bengal. Why? Why? And one Rabindranath Tagore would have made a state permanently glorified for another 100 years. So the British did contribute to our free thinking, to our, because the Muslim rule had segregated us. During the Muslim rule, we were totally a lost society. And if you today even, if the Bengal was not divided, you see, West Bengal has something around 7 crores of Hindu, and Bangladesh has 1.31 Hindu, but 8 crores Hindu, and something around 18 crores Muslim. So out of 26 crore Bengali populations, people speaking Bengali in West Bengal and Bangladesh, only 8 crore is Hindu. How did this happen? How did this happen? How did a society become a majority of Muslims before the division of Bengal? How? And the British came, they saved us. You see, if the British were not there, today would have been 90% Muslim, 95% Muslim. And I don't mind anybody becoming Muslim with education and all. But these conversions were not very happy incidents. We know how people were converted. So the British presence, I would say, has contributed to the betterment of Indian society, of Hindu society, of Bengali society.
Yes, I agree with you on that part, but the other part is that we became too much intoxicated with the power and privileges, and we could not let them go. And in my opinion, that led to this spineless society we have today, in some way. Yeah, but
Yes,
we'll move ahead.
yes, you are.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
next
we'll
segment.
move on to our next talking point. That is, we'll come back to now the current situation. So, the latest data we have with regard to this violence, the political violence in the current scenario. So, 2021 was the election year where Deep Haldal wrote a book regarding the violence that happened at that time. So now, in the current context, and also with the left-hand government is gone, but the violence still remains. So, what do you think has been the long-term impact of political violence in Bengal, irrespective of which party is in power? We have seen the violence is been a kind of a constant in terms of political violence when in elections, pre and post-election, and how it has actually impacted the society and the political consciousness of its people.
The Bengal political violence of Bengal, uh, as on today, as you see it, is because of the total ideological fluidity. I mean, nobody has allegiance to any ideology. A person who was a communist only 10 years before or 12 years before has suddenly become a TMC member. And for all you know, if the BJP comes to power, he will just jump onto BJP and he will become a saffronite. So this ideological fluidity is nothing but kind of ideological prostitution. Everybody wants to be with the power that be. And yes, you are very correct on that, that it may have started, the seeds may have been sown during the British Raj. And you will find n number of what I call essays of Rabindranath Tagore, where he says that there was a time when the pond of the village, where the school of the village, where the mandir of the village were being built by the well-to-do section of the society. The village rich man, or the British were the first people who came and started doing the government. Now the government is into picture. Now the government is making ponds. Now the government is allowing temples. Government is building schools. This has slowly drawn the Bengali society towards the government, towards the power that be, And today, the Bengali society, I tell you, before 2011, everybody was a CPIM. After 2011, everybody is a TMC. I mean, this kind of shifting allegiance for no reason. I mean, I can understand somebody from BJP going to Congress or from Congress coming to BJP because the ideology is more or less kind of okay with it. But a leftist going to TMC or a leftist, there are a lot of CPIM people who have come to the BJP even. Now, how can they adjust to such things? If you tell me to go and join a communist party, how can I go and join just because they are in power? So this, what I told you that the Bengali society has been by and large a court gesture. Right? They have been always sticking to the powers that be to I wouldn't say they were not getting very many things from the power that be. Maybe some kind of protection, or maybe some kind of lazy living, or maybe some kind of. And this is where we have brought our society to. You, as far as the economy is concerned, if you go to the north section of railways, when you used to stay in proper Calcutta, so you are not exposed to Titagore, Barakpur. I mean, these railway stations are food courts. You have hundreds of food stall out there because people have nothing better to do. They have put up food stalls in railway platform. You go to the YouTube channel, you will find people eating biryani there, people eating porta there, and the star of the Bengali food blog is Today Porota Wala. This is where we have brought the society to. Goriahat footpath, you just can't walk. There's no place to walk. So this is what our society has been brought to by being close to the power. What have we gained? What has the power?
Yeah, there is some connection issue. So I think he will join. Apologies for the connectivity issue. He will be back. Let's take a few comments. I think we have a lot of good comments which have come up. Let me take them one by one. Yeah,
Yeah, it went off suddenly.
yeah. Please continue.
What I was trying to say is, yes, we have stuck to the powers that be. We have found life with the power that be, but we have not gained materially anything out of it. That was what I was trying to say.
Yes, you're absolutely right in that context. And but
I would like to share. I would like to share a anecdote with you. During the
please go
CPM
ahead.
days, I was traveling in a train, and one poor man was sitting beside me in the train. So he had a lot of complaint about CPIM, how they are running the panchayat and all. So at the end of the day, I told him, but why do you keep voting for the CPIM then? You have so many complaints, they're not doing anything. He told me যে আমি আমরা কি করব আমাদের তো ওপরে ভগবান নিচে প্রধান. So that's how life has been for the poor in the West Bengal. When the God high above we have God and the lower above we have the Panchayat Pradhan. This is how their existence is going on. So this state, I mean, this will go on like this. If it goes on like this, I don't know how long it will go on, but then it's into a bottomless pit. It's going down, 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 and down.
Yes, so I'll finish this point with one of my inferences. Okay, so this economic decline of Eastern India, including Bihar and Orissa and West Bengal, in actually British period, okay, and that created a deprivation and incentive class to actually align with the powers to actually gain some material out of this. And second was because you don't have the finance, no, don't have the actually financial resources to even feed yourself, the moral of the people of the society goes down because there is lack of resource. So this moral degradation, which actually is one of the reasons why we see this kind of thing where people would do. So, correct. So the Bhadralok, the intellectual class of Kolkata, are dependent on the state for their nourishment. So they will accept anything, including massacre of people, just to feed, just to have their privilege and power. So this moral degradation is actually linked to the economic deprivation, which was happening for 200 years before the Kolkata became a kind of center of economic and other activities in British India. So that would have played a part. But I think the same thing happened in many other places in in India, but they did not become so. So there is something which is bad in our genes, maybe due to the invaders who came here and ruled us, that created a kind of a bad genetic thing which created us today. So I think we are not the Bengal who was there in ancient times. We are now a different kind of genetic people who have a lot of bad things in our genes, which keeps us as we are.
You are very correct in this. We have nobody to blame for this except ourselves. Uh, I would just like to remind you of two scenes which we have seen somewhere around 2012, 11, maybe 11, 12. The first scene was the village. A village was shown where there were crackers going away. There were people who were celebrating. So I thought, what is it? It's Singul, where Tata had declared that they are not going to build the factory. So these villagers were celebrating out there with crackers. And just 6 months down the line, another village was shown. People were celebrating with crackers. There were crackers going out. And where is this village? This is Sanand in Gujarat. And why are they celebrating? Because Tata has declared they're coming to there to build up their factory. So one village is celebrating because Tata has gone away. Another village is celebrating because Tatas are coming. This is the kind of mindset difference that we have with the other people. Even in this poor state, it's not that we are doing very well, that we don't want an industry. We are doing very, very badly, but still we are celebrating the Tata. Tata is not another industrialist. You agree with it? Tata is an industrialist which everybody is welcome to the state because Tata never go for the industry. They go for the area. They are not here to earn money. They are here to make the society better. I mean, the whole Tata companies are owned by an NGO where the money is given away. Tata Son is giving away the money they are earning from all the Tata companies. And you are kicking out such a company from your state and celebrating. So what you say is there's something seriously toxic about our mindset, and we have nobody to blame other than the communist ideology. The toxic mindset has seeped into our genes, has seeped into our bones through the communist ideology only. And it is not a case of Bengal only, it is a case of throughout the world. People who have thrown away communism, 1910 to 1990 it existed, 80 years, and people saw through it and they were thrown out. Now people are very happy without communism. Nobody wants them back. And the Bengali society till date keeps on writing novels and poems about the Naxals, so the great people of Presidency College who threw away their future to go for God knows what they wanted to do. And nobody wanted their services. The poor did not want him, but they went to the poor that I will change your life. Or if the poor is not interested, why you go and study in Presidency College. But till date, people are writing novels. I mean, Somaresh Majumdar's Kalwala, that Onimesh and Madhavilota became cult figure in Bengali society. What a Naxalite people. There are so many. I mean, even today there are movies being made. There are people who made a career out of Naxalite acting. Devraj Rai and all. So there's something seriously wrong with us because of the communist ideology.
We'll finish the conversation with last question. Do you think, and there are actually documentation started available, so that this communist ideology is something which was actually funded outside India, including the European powers and the Soviet Unions, and you had a Nehru, a socialist who was in the center, and with center's help and with the money coming in from outside, created this class which actually survives, and still we know that money is coming to actually support these leftist people.
Strangely,
Bec-
this money these days to the leftist people are coming from US. You've seen this US aid. Can there be a bigger irony that the communist people are being funded by the US aid? So things are changing like anything. Today, you don't get money from Russia. Today, if a leftist wants money to ruin the country, if a leftist wants money to split the society, he can look ahead to US. I don't know about US under Donald Trump, but this is how things are changing. And the communists, they know that they cannot get hold of the whole society. They're just not capable of it. So their interest is always to break up the society into tiny, tiny bits and support each group so that they can find something. This is the same thing which they did with the refugees when they were in Tondokaranda. They carved out a section of the refugees and started fueling in them. So this is a game which they have been playing with little success actually. Nobody is interested. Today the national voting percentage of the Communist Party is 1.2%. So nobody is interested with them. But then wahi system hamara hai. They have a huge presence. And the foreign countries today, there are little that people are going to fund them. Other than UK academic universities and UK government, I'm not very sure, but USAID, yes, they have funded a lot of anti-national people who are operating from India, including Zubair, the Alt News, and Scroll and Wire, all useless people. They have nothing to contribute to the betterment of the society or the betterment of the country. But then they are holding a large space, and they are having a constituency of around, you see, 140 crores is the population. If you can have a constituency of 10 crores, it's a huge deal for US. The US keeps on funding these people. And but what I would say is that the kind of money I have seen, as reported in the press, that they have spent on these Charlies, it's a very bad investment because they are capable of nothing. These leftist Charlies, they are capable of nothing. They cannot achieve anything, excepting for going to the High Court to Supreme Court and getting all kinds of rubbish judgments that the judges keeps giving. Otherwise, they are of no use. In spite of everything, in spite of all the energy that they have spent in stopping one single person from 2002, they could only improve his career. They see this man has become a chief minister, from chief minister to better chief minister, to better chief minister, to a prime minister, to a better prime minister. I mean, this is the kind of achievement that these people are having. But then the US government is spending money on them. I don't think it's of any use whether the foreign people spend money on them or not, because India has changed. India's thinking has changed. India's today's India is a different India. Today's India is proud of its country. Today's India is proud of its heritage. Young people are getting into it. Young people are celebrating all kinds of festivals, which 20 years back you could not see young people celebrating. It was the Buddhas like us who were celebrating. But today the young people are getting into it. That's a good thing that it's happening, and I welcome such things. And I don't think this one or two small time people can make any change to the society. And sadly enough, they gave no they you if you follow Twitter or X handle as you call it, you will find that there is no traction given to them from the leftist brigade. All traction to them is given from the right wing people. People are quoting them, people are quoting them with tweets, with counter tweets. I keep repeating that why are you giving traction to these people? They have nobody to fall back on. But we have some flaw with it. We are always seeking leftist endorsement, and this thing has to be sanitized from our thinking, from our society, from our ecology.
Yeah. So, thank you a lot for this enlightening talk and enlightening insights into the left politics, its violence, and how they have captured power. So we'll go back to questions, and I think we would need one more program to discuss few more things. Maybe we'll do it later, because there are a few things which still remain to be discussed. and we'll do it in our future programs. We'll go back to our question. So the
Okay.
first question we'll take is we have a super chat from Yashwant Rasane. Thank you very much for your support. So he has asked, the leftists will praise the success of China, but will oppose Modi ji following the Chinese model in India. They are hypocrite. Are they hypocrite or they are something else of a species?
No, leftist has this typical. If you, I would suggest everybody to read 1984 of George Orwell, where he speaks about newspeak and double talk. They are double thinking. They're experts in it. They will have two parallel narration together. If you go through my Nondigram chapter, you will find strange things being written about SEZ. Okay, Export Promotion Zone, the SEZ CPM website has strange things, all kinds of bad things written about it. But when it came to Nondigram and the Salem were putting up an SEZ, they could speak exactly the opposite of it. So this China praising or not praising is of no use, and China is just not interested about Indian communists. They are interested about Rahul Gandhi. They find a more leftist person in Rahul Gandhi than this Prakash Karat and Sitaram Yechuri brigade. You have found that Rahul Gandhi has been having regular meeting with the Chinese people. So the leftist is a bygone thing now. For the Chinese, Rahul Gandhi is more leftist than the others.
Yeah, so Rahul Gandhi is making a lot of visits to Vietnam, and Vietnam is a communist country by I don't know by ideology, but
No, no,
they are
even
a strange.
ruling party is
Yeah,
communist.
yeah. The ruling party is communist, and they have a strange combination of Buddhist communists. I don't know where the species comes from. So they believe in Buddha and communism both at the same time. So that is what double speak is you're talking about. They can believe in anything what they like. So we have one more question from Yashwant. This is a very interesting question because this is very important for the kind of narrative which has been built. So Yashwant Rasane asked one more question. At least we don't hear much about the caste-based conflict in West Bengal. Are these issues solved compared to other states? Should other states follow West Bengal model in this aspect? I think this is very important question. I took it primarily because the caste based discrimination is hidden under an ideology which under an also academics which people cannot see through it. People who live outside Bengal, who have not lived in Bengal, they can never understand this. So can you just help us to understand, is Bengal society under communist casteist or not?
No, I will not claim a great idea about this, but I will talk on my experience. My experience is that economically, this caste discrimination, uh, if you come down from the higher echelons of the society, higher echelons, I mean people who are well to do, there the caste thing doesn't exist. I would say not at all, but mostly no. But as you come down, as the economic level decreases, as people are less economically powered, the casting is there, very much there, and is in operation, especially in rural areas where you have still have Bamunga. Bamunga is a village where only Brahmins stay, and we have SC/STs staying in separate ghetto. In a You have Baudipara. I think you know about it. And even if you are reading Bengali literature, you can find all this. There are Baudiparas, there are Bamungas. Even if you are going to Mayapur ISKCON, just before Mayapur ISKCON, you will come across a village which is known as Bamunga. So there are caste, this thing, not as an undercurrent, a very distinctly caste thing is there. Maybe there's not so much of violence. Caste violence is not there, like we see or we have been seeing in UP and Bihar. There's no much caste violence. But why would you resort to violence when you can do the same thing non-violently? So this is the thing. I would say I would divide it between three classes. At the upper echelons of the society, there's really any caste this thing, which in other society I have watched that there are. In spite of being economically well, people do resort to caste discrimination. That is not there in Bengal. But in the middle class society, there's little. Middle class rural society, there is prevalent. Poor society, very much prevalent. Poor society, a poor Brahmin would not treat a poor Bauri or a poor this thing as his equal. A poor Brahmin always treats himself as better equipped to deal with life. In spite of not having money, in spite of not having enough food, in spite of not having his own house, he will not treat himself equal to another person who doesn't have house or money or food. So that is how Bengali society caste operates. My idea, what I have seen.
Yes. So on top of this, just like to add one more thing. So in terms of caste, so caste is just a correct a kind of a status too that we have actually learned. Though you had a caste in Japan, you have caste in Germany, you have caste also in America, where there will be higher echelons who will not interact with the working classes. So this caste as a something very unique to India is something which is debunked already, where we have seen literature, academic literature coming up, especially in Japan, where we had seen the caste was already present there, and which was being as brutal as somewhere else in India. So, and that is how the society functions itself. So, caste is not unique to India. It is part of human behavior, human psychology, where the status symbol, your consumption pattern determines whom you talk to, whom you marry, and whom you live with. Okay. Because me as a person will not be able to actually interact and talk to person who doesn't belong to my consumption pattern itself. So it's more of a status group in terms of his consumption and how you interact, rather than a rigid caste where he is Namoshudra, so I will not talk to him. A Namoshudra who is very rich, I will talk to him. I will not see whether what his surname is. So in that aspect, it's there all across in Indian society, including West Bengal and including globally as well, including Germany, Japan, US, even in Britain. We'll go to our next question. Very interesting question we have from RS. Debapratim sir, what do you think about Nanur massacre, which you I think is covered? I'm not
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
Sujpur, Sujpur.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nanur is the bigger place. Sujpur is the village where this incident occurred, where 14 people were beaten to death inside a club room in the early mornings of 8 o'clock in the morning, and they were strewn all over the field to make it look like a story was sold that these 14 people had come to the village to commit dacoity, and villagers chased them and killed them by catching them. So the dead bodies are strewn over 1 kilometer, one here, one there, one here. It's a cruelty of the worst order, and it was presided over by a school teacher, Nityanaran Chatterjee, who was later convicted, and he's on parole now. He could be found in his house, and the kind of terror that it uh, out of 14, 13 were from poor Muslim families. One was a Hindu. They were all landless people. They were all poor people for whom a classless society was being built by the Communist Party, and who were killed in the early morning by a school teacher, presided over by a school teacher. They were all taken to a club room where they were locked, and people could hear them crying for help. And one by one, as the people kept dying, they were thrown out of the clubhouse. I mean, horrible, horrible. All for a plot of land where it was claimed that the government has already vested that land for government work. And because the government was not doing anything, there were farmers who were trying to make a living out of it. And who were the farmers? Poorest of the poor from the society where they have no land. They are landless farmers who tried to make 14 of them out of a plot of land of maybe 4 acre or 5 acres. And the party could not tolerate it. Why? Because you have to be a CPM stooge to do whatever you are doing. You can't do anything independently. So people in the early morning went there, got hold of all the 14 people, brought them in the clubhouse, and they had beaten to death. My one of the chapters, Suchpur massacre, is there. If you read the book, you can find it. My book is available in Amazon and Garuda Publisher also.
Yeah, I have actually shared the book's link in the description, and also I have
Oh,
put the book links in the chat itself. So in the chat, it is pinned comments. Also in the description that is there for this podcast, it is there in the podcast description. So both
thank you,
of
sir.
them actually, I will also be putting a few more clips and also add them into this as well. So
Okay.
now the next question is very interesting. Debu sir, what do you think about the Runa Guha Niyogi who wrote a famous Bengali book named Sada Ami Kalo Ami, which covers the Naxal violence in West Bengal extensively? Do you have any insight on that? If you,
Ronu Gyonyogi was a Calcutta police officer, and he was famous for his cruelty. He had so what if he had killed some Naxal criminals? But he is not a very good example of government administration as far as government administration goes, or a policeman goes. He had done a lot of extra constitutional things which is not recognized as a civilized thing to do or a legal thing to do. So it's a very exciting book where he describes his achievement, so to say, of killing people, of how he eliminated Naxal menace and all. I'm not very inclined to like this kind of thing because at the end of the day, we need a civilized society and not a society where the police can kill anybody because police believes or the society believes that he is not useful to the society. So I don't have a very good opinion about Unugo Yogi. No, not really.
yeah, and just to add one point, correct? I think there's a very one of the movies I normally do not watch any entertainment. I do not watch television, do not watch any cricket, do not watch any cinema, nothing. So one of the movies I actually happen to watch out of few movies I have watched in my last 15 years was this Paise Shravan. In Paise Shravan, there is a scene where the policeman would talk to one historian policeman who and he was the same character you are actually talking about. So Paise Shravan, if you watch the movie, there would be one scene where they will sit in a cafe and ask the policeman who this person was, and I think that title is inspired from this book itself.
Okay. Uh-huh. Hmm.
Yeah, it's one of the movies I watch. Normally, I do not watch any entertainment as such. So we'll take two more questions, and we'll finish by in about 10 minutes. And I think there are a few things which remain. So we will talk about this in our next session. So we had actually gave a task to our subscribers to actually give us a few super chats, and they have given us a few super chats. And thank you to all of you who have contributing to this. So we will request Devuda to please come again. I have few more things to discuss with regard to left politics and also a bit of right wing politics. So it will be an enlightening reason. So we will invite and request sir to come to us again.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It would be
Yeah,
my
I have
pleasure
few
to
more.
come again and talk to you. Thank you very much. Ah,
Yeah, I have two more questions to talk about. Yeah, this is a very interesting question. Debu sir, what do you think about the Kamtapur militancy in which nothing but a separatist movement in Bengal? Did communists back them? Or what do you think about it? I think there were very few North Bengal movements. You had the Gorkha movements also there, Nepali movements.
now Kuch Bihar has a legacy in the sense that Kuch Bihar was never part of the British Empire. Kuch Bihar was always ruled by the Kuch Bihar Maharaja. So this maybe Kamtapuri feeling has come out of it, but Kamtapur militancy, there's not such thing as Kamtapur militancy. Nothing great is happening there in the name of separatism or getting separate from him. Uh, Gorkha movement is much more, I mean, was much more integrated and consolidated movement for the simple reason that Gorkhas were not Bengalis. Because if you are uh, drawing out a state on linguistic basis, Gorkhas has nothing common with the Bengalis. They don't even eat majbhat. So they don't not speaking Bengali. They don't look like Bengali. So their movement was much more consolidated, but went into criminal hands and corrupt leaders. So that fizzled out, but that is always there boiling. Kamtapur militancy, I have not seen achieving very many popular support from the people of Kamtapur, number one. And number two, two or three of its leaders, as in due course, joined BJP. It will not go places. I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe if things change, I will change my opinion, but not as of date.
Yes. So the last question for today, and there are many more questions. So let be assured that there are a lot of questions which. Okay, I think he lost his connection. Let me see if he can come back. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. So this is the last question we will take for today, and then there are a few questions which we will amalgamate, and in our next podcast when we will actually take them. So don't worry about your questions are with me. I'll note them. I'll keep them as a kind of a feeding material for the next podcast that we will have. There are a lot of things to be discussed. Last question for today from Abhay Agarwal. He's asking, you being a CA, you must have communicated to a lot of non-Bengali in your career. What is their perspective on leftist nature of Bengal politics? Is it different from the Bengalis? If so, how?
Well, this question coming from Agarwal is quite interesting. Communicated to non-Bengalis in your career, I would call them not Bengalis, not non-Bengalis. The Marwari community, who are basically the business community of West Bengal, they didn't think much about the CPIM rule because they were never disturbed. And this Tulabaji kind of thing, the collection of cut money was very bare minimum during CPIM. They were more into ideological poisoning and spreading toxin within the society, about which the business community were not much affected. So the business community didn't much care about who the CPIM rule, and the CPIM also did not bother the business community much, and they hated to be seen with the business community in public, unlike the present rulers who don't mind being seen with the business community, and they are themselves becoming businessmen, putting up resorts and all over the state with corruption money. I think the business community in West Bengal during the left rule were given a peaceful existence, and they had carried on with the business peacefully. I mean, there were very little, to my experience, this political class was not after their rent seeking, and these things were much less during the CPIM rule because they were into much bigger things, long-term things. They were into killing refugees. They were into killing hapless health officials and landless farmers. They were killing poor people. They were not. They never disturbed the rich people. Business community is basically rich people, because they were building a classless society for the poor. They were out to kill the poor people, because the problem of a classless society is the poor. Let's kill the poor and build a classless society. That was their idea.
Yeah, thank you, Balvika Samiti. He has also contributed to our support fund to run this podcast. So thank you. And he asked an important question. Do you think CPM has used violence as a operant conditioning to take away Bengalis' ability of political self-actualization? Interesting, very interesting question.
No, you see, violence in a democracy is not very new. It's not new in Bengal only. Violence in democracy happens all over the world. Let's face it. We have seen violence in US elections. We have seen the Capitol Hills. We have seen violence in Germany. That is not the point. The point is violence as a legitimate political tool. The CPIM has always used the violence as a legitimate political tool. Now, the Bengalis' ability of political self-actualization, I don't think so. The Bengalis have agreed to it. Bengalis have never protested against it. Bengali thought that whatever is happening, let that happen. We are having our Maj Bhat and Durga Puja, and that's it. That's about it. And nothing in Bengal moves unless it moves the middle class. You see, the Arjikor incident was such a big issue because the girl was from a middle class society. You see, a village boy had died in Jadavpur University jumping from the roof. He was a village boy, he was a poor boy. He was killed by the leftist students' union. Do you even listen about them? Do you even hear about such incident? No. You see, the poor poor people from the Basti, they are getting molested, they are getting raped every other day. But the Bengali middle class doesn't take any interest in it. So the Bengali middle class didn't take any interest in Marichjhapi. They were least bothered about Anandamargi killing. They were least bothered against Suchpur killings, or for that matter, Singur Andolan and all. To some extent they were interested in Nandigram, because maybe it involved Salem and industry and everything, and because a lot of people got involved with it, including the poets and the literates and the actors and all. But Bengali middle class is not into anything unless they are affected by it. It is their prime importance that the Madhyabitta Bengali, the middle class Bengali, should be affected. Only then they will move their asshole from their chairs. That's the main problem with this class. They have power to oppose anything. They have power to speak out against the power, but they will not speak out against the power if a victim is a poor man, if the victim is a rickshaw puller, if the victim is a slum dweller. That's the saddest part of it.
And yes, to actually bolster your point, people don't remember the PWG, People's War Group, MCC, Marxist Communist Center, and Ranveer Sena, the upper class landlords. The violence which was going on in the erstwhile undivided Bihar, Jharkhand, and Bihar put together, you have not seen the kind of violence which is happening at that time. With that violence, you can't compare what's happened in West Bengal. I think Sir would know about something about it. But violence is not something which is unique to West Bengal. It is there, but there are more violent places in Andhra, in Tamil Nadu, in Kerala. You have seen more violence there, okay, in terms of political violence. So political violence is not the primary motive behind the moral degradation or the inaction of the Bengal society. It has to something to do with the ingrained uh, constituent, like a gradual degradation of the Bengali thinking perspective as well. The way they have been pampered by the British to do the jobs, be clerks, and when that generation was brought up, the second generation thought my only job is to get a job and be a middle class, and that be dependent on the government for its nourishment. When that thought process steps in, the society, the people will go into drains because they will have no other skills but to be the stooge of the power which is in power at that time. So that's what took place, not the violence itself. Yeah, sir. Last word to you.
I will just add a line to it. The quantum of violence, the MCC violence or the People's War PWG violence, the quantum of violence is not important. What is important is the violence being backed by the highest echelons of power. That's more important. You see, a PWG violence or an MCC violence is never supported by a chief minister. But
Exactly.
in West Bengal, the killing of Marichjhapi is supported by a chief minister. The killing of Anandamargi is supported by a chief minister. That's the problem. When the establishment gets into killing its own citizen, that's more important.
Yeah. So thank you. We are almost out of time. We have one more podcast coming in about 40 minutes on a special topic on the refugee experience of West Bengal. So it's in Bengali. So do tune in if you have the time, where we will talk about the refugee experience of West Bengal from an oral history perspective. It's a new series we are launching. The first episode will happen in about 40 minutes time. So do join us for that. It will be happening. And thank you, sir. Thank you again for coming and gracing us with your presence and your insights. We really appreciate your time for coming here. And we will again invite you, and also to everybody who has contributed to our support fund to run this podcast. A big thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in next 40 minutes. Sir, last word to you. Sir, last word to you before we say goodbye.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. And I really wish all the best to this channel. This should come up. You're doing a great job. This needs to be spread. This needs to be made popular. I would suggest whoever has watched the year or the next podcast or whatever you are doing, people should share it more from YouTube so that people are kept aware of things that you are doing. This needs to be done. We need to strengthen our right wing, right conservatist ecosystem. We need to have our own strong system where we can work for the betterment of the society and the country and the heritage, everything. Thank you so much for having me in your show. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jai Shri Ram, Vande Mataram.
Jai Hind.